Hello there, good evening, and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show Weekend Extra, Weekend Special. It still feels funny to say Good Morning Education Show and having it on by 5 p.m. Well, actually, it's morning in some place, in some part of the world. Well, my name is Rotimi Itai, and I'm so excited to be here tonight, this evening, to host the very first Sunday of September, and also the first Sunday episode of the Good Morning Education Show. You're welcome. We'd love to welcome you to the show. If you're joining us for the first time, please tell us your name, tell us your location where you're streaming from, and let us welcome you and recognize you. We always have this show regularly Mondays to Fridays, but now we've introduced the weekend special, meaning that the show is now Mondays to Sunday. On Mondays to Fridays, it's 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And on Saturday, it's 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And on Sunday, it's 5 p.m. all the way to 6 p.m. It's such a great pleasure to be here, and we always have fantastic time. On the Good Morning Education Show, we bring up analysts, we bring up experts, we bring up special guests who share their evening or morning or afternoon with us, as the case may be, um, and talking about the issue and subject matter of this, sometimes talking about their journey, sometimes talking about their experience. And the goal of this is not just to entertain you, but also to inform you, equip you, empower you on your journey as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a professional, and most importantly, as a stakeholder within the world of education. And sometimes on the show, we spend some time to talk about news, headlines, we talk about issues around the world of education. We bring about questions, we treat questions, we take contributions from people like you. So why not go ahead to ensure that you subscribe to our channel, like our page, like our post, share to someone, tell someone to tell someone that it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. It's also a great evening on the show. And so we're so excited as we're launching the very first Sunday episode of the show. The Good Morning Education Show is streaming from Lagos today to Lagos, Nigeria, Nigeria to West Africa to Africa, and Africa to the entire world. I'd like to welcome one of our analysts already on standby who is going to be joining me on today's show. And I believe that we're going to be having a great time. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Folu Falodun.
Good morning, or good, in this case, good good evening, education, and good day, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. And at this time of the day, yeah, it's going to take some adjusting to, but really, it's a good time to be on the show and a great time also to have a discussion around education. Well, for me, the weekend extra feels like the hangouts, and yeah, that's the mode I'm in this evening. But welcome to the show, everyone. We look forward to having a really, really fantastic time on the show today.
All right. So you said you want to have a fantastic time, and a fantastic time you will. And as we do on the show, we like to also bring people up to discover the conversation that we are having. The Good Morning Education Show, right, is a show I would say that we get to be very, very real and practical because we want to make it such an applicable experience for people who are listening or who will further join or watch the replay. And I believe that that's one of the things that we are up for. And tonight we will not be wasting much time because we have enough time to ask questions, enough time to pick up people and identify their reasons for doing what they do because the topic of today seems to be a bit engaging and informative, something that will really take a sneak peek into the eye of um, some practical things that people we know, people that we see are up and about. So we're going to be talking about my journey into education. And when we're looking at this kind of topic, we're going to be looking at it from different perspectives. So we want to hear and we want to experience people's journey, no doubt about that. But we don't just want to stop there. We also want to take a look at um, almost like not just from a preview perspective, but from a projection perspective, that anyone who's actually being in that process, someone who is starting off in that process um, of joining into education, that person should also consider certain things. So while we are trying to share the insights of some people, we also want to ensure that we're talking about some things that we can actually engage other people with. And to that effect, I like to just um, start with theme. So we're talking about my journey into education. And so I'd like to ask you, for someone out there who is thinking of education, for someone out there who is thinking of journeying into education, or who started the process already, what would your counsel be? What should be the very first few things that you want them to recognize or to realize? That's my first question to you, Fee.
Anyone going into education should go into it with their heart. It requires the heart first. Yes, there is, or there are opportunities in education for expansion, for growth, for to make money, to make a name, but at the base of that is the heart. For many people, education is a calling. It's not just something that um, we need to acknowledge the fact that not many people really choose education and say, "Oh, I want to be a teacher," or "I want to be an educator." Yes, there are people who choose it, but they're not very many. Others just find their way into it, maybe out of necessity, maybe by accident, maybe you just have a stopgap, and they just find themselves in the system. And some years down the line, they're wondering, what exactly am I doing here? But for anybody, no matter what the reason is, or how you found your way, or how you are finding your way into education, uh, your heart is very important in making the best of the of your time and of your sojourn in the system. This is because you're dealing with this is an area of life where you just have to get it right. You just have to get it. We're building lives for the future. And if your heart is not in it, you come across children from different ages. Now, children are in school from as early as 6 months old. Mothers have to return to work, so they have their babies in the creche from 6 months, and then for some kids or for some schools where you have from creche to the secondary, if it's a very good school, some children are there from 6 months till they are 15, 16, and they're shaping the making of this life, the making of this child is essentially in in the hands of that school. So we find that if your heart is not in it, if it's just something to make money, and look, I'm really not bothered about what happens here, let me just make my pay and go away, then a life is at stake. So for me, at the base of the journey into education, at the heart of the journey into education is the heart of the educator. You have to commit your heart to it and say, look, I am giving this my 100%. No matter how long or short my journey in it is, I'm giving it my 100%. I'm giving it my all. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that. Hearts and hands and heads are critical elements to consider. Your heart must be in the game. Your hands must be in the game. Your head must be in the game. Your hands must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your hands must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your hands must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your hands must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your hands must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your hands must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your heart must be in the game. And your head must be in the game. And your heart must hands must be in the game. In particular, when we look at it, we need to consider in particular what our place is. Taking our place is a critical factor to those who are journeying into education. We must understand that we can be called part of the crowd when we are counting the numbers, but we should not stay as just part of the number. We must take our place. And while we are saying just that, we have Olushola Olumide joining us. Thank you so much, Mr. Olushola Olumide. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show on Sunday evening, our weekend special.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening.
Good
It's good.
evening.
It's good to be on this show. Good morning education show on an evening Sunday like this.
Yes, so we're talking about my journey into education, and we're trying to look at it from two perspectives. Yes, we're going to look at it as a case study for people who've gone into education and their stories, their experiences, and all that. But we also want to look away from that and also look at people out or be some mission school or some sort, and they find themselves about to make meaning of what they've just done. So and we're saying that, how do we get people to understand that it's needed for those who go into education to take their place? So Olushola, did you want to say something on that?
Yes. Thank you very much. I think it's like defining your why. And I think everybody, either those who planned to go into the education space, they set out to do that. They must define their why. There are other people too, not because they want to go, maybe circumstances push them there. Before you plunge yourself into the system, you must also do your research as far as the field you are entering into is. What is obtained? How can I give my best? And if you see that, okay, it's a stepping stone to higher ground or to better place, you don't just enter into the profession just for the sake of entering, or else it's either the person constitute a problem to himself and constitute problem to the other people in the same space with him or her. So it's good to do one findings. And like I did say the other time, um, students who are in the faculty of education, maybe 60-70% of them got there because the course they wanted was not given to them. And they just say, let me just go through and have my first degree. As soon as I'm done, I also move out again. So there is need to look into it. And I believe that if you are that intentional, people will begin to make, great marks that will serve as a sort of model, or that will be so inviting to others who doesn't feel anything good can come out of the space. When you now see somebody achieving so much and they are doing well for themselves, doing well for the profession, and you are like, I didn't know this can really be this much. I think I just want to follow this path too. So if you plan going into it, define your why. If it was circumstances that put you there, do your background check, do your research, that while you are there, do something meaningful that you'll be proud of later in life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know, Finn, do you have anything to say to add to that?
Well, I think one thing I'll add to that is that it's essential for teachers to define the face that education carries. Before now, we had a definition of what it was, and that definition presently is not appealing to the current generation. You just feel like, oh, once you're here, teacher, there is a particular picture that comes to your mind. So, modern day teachers or teachers in this generation need to redefine that identity. It's not, we're not saying this is not a battle of it's not a battle of the old and the new. No, It's just for us to say, look, things have repositioned and we are changing um, the outlook and the impression that people have gotten. Over time, organizations relaunch, businesses they relaunch themselves. They introduce new logos and all of that to say we're rebranding, and this is the new face, this is the new identity that we have. I think it's essential for us to do the same in education, to rebrand, to relaunch, and say this is who we are. This is the current, we don't know what's going to happen 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 50 years down the line. Education definitely is going to have a new face. And at that time, I'm expecting that the new face then would also be relaunched and be reintroduced to people so that the misconception. I found myself in the Faculty of Education. I didn't choose it, but for some reason, I have always had education in me. I knew I was going to do something along the lines, but I didn't want to do a single subject course. And one of the other reasons I really did not want to do education as it were was because of the way it looked. But fortunately enough for me, I had good models in my teachers from primary school to secondary school. I wanted to be like them because of the way they presented education and the way they presented teachers. So what I'm just adding to this is that it's time for us to redefine our identity, to relaunch our identity, and to let people know that this is the face of education right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. While you were speaking, we had Ifyok join us all the way from UAE. I'm sure she's still going to join us back because we're going to spend some time to create a spotlight on her. And Olushola and you, Fi, will have the privilege to also hear from her or also ask her questions that you might want to ask, you know, especially when we talk about my journey into education. She's one particular person. It would be lovely to hear her story. I know that she also just got an approval to for independent practice now. Fully, she's able to go. Let me not let the cat out of the bags, but she's gotten an approval in the UAE, and I would like her to also share the journey towards that, you know, exercise and an approval. But before
If
then, so we're hello.
no, I wanted to say if you should enter quick so that we can ring the bell of blessing. Multiple bells we are ringing for her this evening. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So yes. So we're talking about because a lot of times, um, people, people would find out that there's several circumstances. And listening to what Tulushola said, listening to what Fi has said, you find out that sometimes the need of the hour it might be the trigger for some people to get into the boat or into the field or into the world of education in particular. We see some people just feel frustrated about the things going around, and in a bit of trying to make a change or in the bit of trying to help or to be a part of the solution, they find themselves into education. And education can actually be a kind of neck deep well where you just keep sucking yourself, sucking yourself, sucking yourself. And we've seen people journey into education and we've seen several things come out of it. But I'd like us to treat a very sensitive aspect, which is a lot of people journey into education with the major mindset, right, of exploitation. It's seen as a very free entry, free exit situation or terrain. And a lot of people already from the get go have the mindset to fleece on either individuals, regulators, administrators, or sometimes even students as well. So it's almost like when you hear the conversation, it's like, oh, you can just do this. And I feel concerned because even when people just say, oh, making money is not wrong, right? I'm not talking about making money now. But sometimes, you know, the way people also say the word, it tends to give you a clue as to their motive, as it were. So I like to hear from Finn. You know, we hear a lot of times that there are exploiters who litter around, who sniff around, who go majorly as a target into education. Can we hear your thoughts on that? Their journey and what can be done?
Yes, and that's where we need to take our um what's that called now? Uh, I can't the word just skips my mind now. There's the need for the
You're having
system.
a hangout hangover effect.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. There's a need for us to have a standard in the system. One thing that we find is every nook and cranny, one bedroom, a one bedroom apartment is suddenly springs up, and then they say, oh, it's this and this nursery school. The part of it that riles me the most is where you see just two bedroom and they say something international school. And for the life of me, I can't understand how that is an international school.
Mm.
There is the need for proper evaluation and monitoring such that people, it's very easy for this system to be exploited because all you need to do is put up a signboard, have somebody holding a cane standing by a makeshift gate, and then you call it a school in some areas where they don't have easy access to schools or to good schools, and the parents are hungry to have their children educated. So all you need is just somebody standing by the gate. In fact, I've seen some very ridiculous cases where it is only one teacher, one person starts off that institution, as it were, or that organization, and it is only that person that is the staff for the entire school. They teach all the classes, they teach all the children, they're the administrator and the head of school and everything. It is just that one person. And so it's easy for that kind of person to just come in and say, okay, bring your children, to be exploitative in certain communities and in certain areas. Now, it behoves on we have state boards for education, we have the Federal Ministry of Education. It behoves on these bodies and and all the other monitoring bodies to be able to go around and weed out these people who are in the system for exploitation. That's why these days you see someone who says they're graduates, and in some cases undergraduates, and they're writing a correspondence to you, and they're starting it in small letters. Some go as far as even writing their own names in small letters, and I'm wondering, what are they learning in school? It's part of the effect of this exploitation. So they're just there. Punctuation is zero. They don't even know. They don't even understand what punctuation is or what role it plays. Sentence structure is nonsense. The texting system or the texting um, the texting language has taken over official language. So you see people who are fresh graduates and they're writing official correspondence and they're writing it in shorthand in text language, and you're wondering, what are you learning in schools? I think this is because of people who have gone in with an exploitative mind. In universities, also, we have lecturers who go in um, because they know somebody, so it's not due process. Nobody's really checking them to know, who is this person, what do they bring to the table, how are they teaching. They are not even evaluating them as they go on. I'm wondering how lecturers go through a system using the same lesson notes for 20 years and nobody's asking any questions and asking, why is this so? Is going through to look at what they have prepared for the students. So when it comes to this exploitative um, aspects, I think the system is so porous that it has become a good hideaway for anybody who just wants to make quick money. So when for the maybe primary schools, especially in primary schools, secondary schools, somehow it looks like you can't really hide there. But especially for the nursery primary schools, where you have all these people who just run in, hide there, and just want to make quick money. When they found out, you find they just pack up and leave, and that's the end of it, forgetting that some lives have already been affected by what they have done. So the system, the monitoring system, the overall system needs to get it right and be able to say, look, we're not just an office-based, we're not just the Ministry of Education or the State Board for Education because we sit in an office, but because we can go around, we can have people on the field to look at what is going on and be able to say, look, certain people need, or this is the standard, let's standardize this thing and be able to pull out the weeds in the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And while you were speaking, we have two Amazons from different parts of the world join us. We have Alera from the UK, and we have the maxed Ifiok. I hope Ifiok can say hello with the mask on. So welcome to the show. Alera, do you want to say hello? Let's hear your UK voice.
I'll soon put on a pigeon accent. Hi, everybody.
If I hear,
Hello,
you're not allowed. You're not allowed. Ifiok, how are you?
Hello?
Ifiok.
Yes, okay, I can hear you now. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
hear
Okay.
you.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so we're talking about my journey. Topic says my journey into education, and very soon we're putting Ifiok on the hot seat. But before then, let's just stress a bit on the issue of exploitation within the education world. And one of the things that you easily visibly see in exploitation is the fact that exploitation is what begets or breeds quacks. Because what happens is that a lot of people rush towards profiting at the expense of processes. And that's what gives birth to having quacks. Quacks are sometimes people with good intention, but ill manners. There are people with bad intentions without process because of profiteering. Sometimes quacks are just people who can't stress themselves and go through the ropes. They want the shortest cut to the biggest benefit. So we see these people play it out in different ways. We see them come out in different avenues. And this is where exploitation leads to. Exploitation most times does not give the best for the sector. And really that's where a lot of people have to contend with when it comes to education. You can see some other industries are so regulated even by law that you either have some measure of licensing to really engage at a degree. In some cases, there's even some measure of, how do you put it, even citing locations. I know of pharmacies, you cannot practice, you cannot set up a pharmacy practice less than, I think, 200 meters away from another. Like if you have a pharmacy shop, it should not necessarily, you can't have two pharmacy shops side by side. You know, by regulation, it's not allowed, it's not permitted. You know, it's just to be able to also ensure that, because when people practice and they can't profit, you start having adulteration, you start having exploitation. I don't know if Alera wants to say one or two things to that before we come to Ifya.
Yeah, no. Oh, hello. Yeah. Yeah, no. So, I'm 100% in agreement with that. I know that there are other practices that do have similar regulations, that you can't have more than one, school next to another. Now, I know with education, well, at least in the UK, they kind of, we do have quite a number of schools, and they are quite, roughly within 5-10 minutes walking distance from any individual's home. But I guess because the demand is so high, there's not real competition, and every school offers something a little bit different. And I think we've touched on it previously, where with Nigerian schools, we tend to have a case of, oh, they're doing this, so we're also going to do that, not necessarily based on that school's particular specialism. If that makes sense. And of course, we have curriculums that we follow here. You know, so you have the standard curriculum that's followed, and then you have your specialisms. So we don't really 10 minutes walking distance. It's fine. But I didn't really school. I only schooled in Nigeria for my first early years. So I don't really have a clear, like a deep understanding of the Nigerian school system there. But what I have seen, yeah, the schools are almost like, excuse me, but us, you know, redeemed churches, one on every corner, you know. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much. The conversation today, we have, if I'm permitted to say, we have a life specimen. You know, so I'm excited that we can perform some online experiment with a lady that is already putting on the lab coat or the lab mask. Her name is Ifyok Ikeagu, and we're putting Ifyok on the hotspot today. So everyone take a look at that specimen in the building. We're about to
Thank God I have a
dissect.
mask on today.
We're about to dissect the person, the profession, and the pursuit of Ifyok. So if you get ready to rumble, all right. So we would like to ask you to just, in a very, very quick form, don't give us too long intro. Just a quick one in like 60 seconds. Tell us about how you got into education. And then I open the floor to Olumide, Fin, and Alero to ask any question they want to ask.
Whoa, wow. Okay, when does my time start?
Your
Right
time
now?
starts now.
Okay. How did I get into education? So, well, I've always wanted to be a teacher, and I think right from when I was 7 years old, as far back as I can remember, I used to support in the church, and you know, I looked up a lot to my teachers, both in the church and in school, and I always had that affinity for teaching. And so when it was time to make those decisions, I already knew that this is where I wanted to go, and everyone around me was like, okay, this is the profession for you. You know, you are that teacher. This is you. This is what suits you. This is what suits you. It comes naturally to you. So when I announced the decision to be a teacher, everyone was like, yeah, that's it. That's it. Go for it. And this is who you are. And I think it was basically everybody just confirming that decision, and that's what it was. So yeah, I think that's it in brief. You know, I have that tendency as a teacher to just keep going on and on. So
Okay.
I have to constantly hold myself back.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you for putting the bricks. All right. So I'm gonna ask. Well, congratulations on your license, by the way. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, like
I know you.
Congratulations.
So I don't know if
thank you.
Mr. Olumide would like to say something. He probably has
Uh,
some questions for you.
yes. Apart from the congratulations, I wouldn't know if I want to find out if you had the privilege of practicing in Nigeria before jetting out. If yes, what do you think is what is the difference? What can you say? The system here, the system over there.
Okay. Thank you for your question. And I think I'm just looking at Mr. Ritayo as he's just laughing and enjoying himself right now. We'll come back to that. Well, yes, I schooled in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. I schooled in Nigeria, and I practiced in Nigeria before um, I had the opportunity to leave and practice where I am now. So I went to school in my university was in College of Education, Port Harcourt, and I remember, you know, all the hassle around getting the university admission. I actually got admission to study medicine. Um, and it was all about medicine or pharmacy, but I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And so I still remember not going to do my registration. And and honestly, it wasn't a good time because, of course, my parents and people like that I looked up to were not happy with that decision. But I still went on, and my father supported me and got the phone, and I went into the College of Education because I felt I needed to get into a College of Education because I wanted to be a teacher. So that's contrary to most people's experiences where they go into the College of Education because they are not unable to get an admission or because they don't have any other choice. For me, it was an outright decision that I made. I wanted to go to College of Education because I thought that was the best thing. And then when I finished, I practiced. I first taught in secondary school because I have a degree in biology education. So I first taught in secondary school, but then I realized that I was more cut out for the early years. And so very early on, I think the first year after I graduated, I started practicing as an early childhood educator and then working to get the certifications and qualifications that I needed to equip me better to function in that role. So back to the difference, okay. So I think for me, one major difference I see is that over here, or let me, over here, we approach education from the angle of exploration. Okay, so we are happy to expose the children to numerous experiences that allow them form their own decisions about certain concepts, about things. However, I find that back at home where I practice, because back in Nigeria, we are more tuned to telling the children what to do, what to believe, how to believe, and I think that doesn't allow the children that independence to be their own self. So we find out that as children grow, they're measuring themselves on the yardstick of other people. So I think for me, it's about that freedom of exploration, giving them opportunity to be creative. I think that's one major difference that I have seen in the educational system, and it's more even into the curriculum, even into planning and every aspect of education. You see that there's that focus on developing the whole child, on having the child be independent to think for things for herself. I think that's one major difference that I see. But thankfully now that people are more enlightened in Nigeria, I can see that coming, especially in the early childhood. I can see where teachers are supporting children to be creative, to think out of the box, or to think inside of the box. Okay, what's inside of the box? What can you do with what you have inside of the box? Now, how can we think and explore your imaginations? Whatever you think in your heart, you can conceive. Yeah, I think that's a basic difference. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that Effect was to address my laughter, but you can't stop it. It's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. So I'm going to ask you to unleash a question to Ifyo. If there are questions, please unleash. Here is Ifyo for the taking.
What?
Why are you
Okay.
saying like I'm about to bore her? If you're on the same side here, I'm not attacking you. There is nothing to unleash. But first of all, congratulations on your license, and it's
Thank
a
you.
great one. Happy for you. Then my
Thank
question
you.
is this: what do you think is the role? Outside of our clients here, we have teachers who are specialist teachers, not specialist subjects, but according to age, to the age year. So you have people who are known as fifth teachers, as third grade teachers, as sixth grade teachers. They have their year specialization or their year specialty. Once you know someone as a first grade teacher,
They do everything to know all about the first grade, the age of children, the development level, the behavioral patterns, and all of that. But here we have, even within the same school, you could have schools shuffle teachers and move someone from preschool to senior school, or sorry, secondary school, because there's a need there. So we don't really do that much of special areas here.
Special.
How does having a special area, how does it help the teacher's output and then the learning experience for the students?
Okay. I will say that I'll start by saying that specialization on any level has its pros and it has its cons. Okay, so if you're specializing in an area, you are more likely to attain mastery. You're more likely to understand those concepts, have it at your fingertip. But there's also the danger of being stagnant. Okay, and so because you're specializing in that one area, you're not expanding your learning to other areas of education or other age groups, let me put it that way. For the teacher, now how that affects students output, is it output or outcome? The output actually affects the outcome, let's put it that way, because at the end of the day, you are very good at what you do for that age group. However, as a teacher, it's not going to allow you to be versatile, to move around if need be. It's okay to, put in all your energies and focus and learn and, be good at what you do. But there's also more. I always believe there is more. I started as a biology teacher and honestly was very good at what I did. I have a master's in cell biology and genetics. So when I was teaching biology, when I was teaching in the secondary school, it was just exploratory. But then, because I felt this is not where I need to be, I have a completely changed course. But it hasn't stopped me from practicing biology. It hasn't stopped me from teaching biology where I am today. So it's about what every individual wants and how they want to extend that learning. So how does my practice, how does my background in biology help me with early childhood education? It gives me the information I need to understand how children learn, how how they how genetics works, totally with regards to learning. So, what's the take home here? Every teacher should strive to attain mastery, but there's always more. There's always more. Don't just don't just be stagnant in one position. Always look for, as much as you're trying to specialize, always know that there's something more that you can always put your hand in. It's called multitasking. Yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question there. Yeah.
So if you do
Mr.
you want to
Isaiah,
tell us
smile very well. Mr. Isaiah, smile. I know the smile is there. Just go ahead. Sorry.
you want to tell us a little bit about your license, the journey to getting your license? Then Alera is the next to drill you on the hot seat.
Wow. That license has taken me almost a year to get. And I thank God because it's like I said, it's a journey. It was a journey. So here in the UAE, it's there are rules and there are regulations, even with doing anything virtual. And so even when you are embarked on your own, there are rules and regulations that you just have to follow to be able to set up. Otherwise, you get in trouble with the system. And so even though on a very low key, I kept everything low key. Yes, I was doing my virtual learning. I was running the preschool on virtually. I was doing everything, but I just couldn't come out there because I wasn't licensed, even though it's virtual. And so I had to go through interviews. I had to go through, questioning. They had to look at all my documentation, go through attestation and all of that. And I had to prove that I really had something to offer. Of course, I had my portfolio and all of that, which helped with the application process. And finally, it came out. So I think I put it there in my status, free to fly. I no longer have to hide in the shadows and all of that. So yeah, that's it. So, but the thing is, I didn't let that stop me. I did not let the rules or regulations stop me. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just had to be able to know that I wasn't watching my back or anything. And that was why I still went all out to persevere. I use that word because at some point I gave up. And I'm like, you know what? But persevere with perseverance, it finally came out. And here I am today.
All right. So you send a meal voucher to us, so we'll use it in Nigeria. Alero, do you have a question for Ifyok?
I do. I'm not drilling you. Don't mind, Coach Ro. I'm not drilling you. But I just kind of like listen to what you were saying, and I kind of thought, well, do you think that individual teachers can kind of, what can they do to improve the Nigerian education system individually? Obviously, they can't really do it corporately. That's the first part. So then the second part would be, do you think that what you've learned or what you've gone through as part of the accreditation process in the UAE is something that should or could work in Nigeria? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Okay, so the first question again.
So like the first question was more about what do you think individual teachers could do to improve the schools that they work in?
Okay, so first of all, I'd say believe the word believe. Okay,
yeah,
one needs to be able to believe in themselves first of all. Okay, that you are capable of bringing about that change you want to see, and I think it stems from that place, because I use myself as an example since I'm in the spotlight. There was that time where I literally would not believe myself. I could not believe that I could do something, I could achieve what it was I set out to achieve. Okay, I knew I had goals and plans, and I'm like, can I really do this? Can I really do this? But it was all about that, taking that first step of believing. I had to go back and rewire my brain to be able to believe in myself, and then take the small steps. So it's not about you have a big change in mind, but it's the small steps that take you there. It's those small daily steps that take you there. So as a teacher in the school system, what's that change that you want to see? And what are the steps you need to take to effect that change? Start taking them today. Start taking them one step at a time. Develop yourself. I'll say it again, develop yourself. I remember a time when, as a teacher, I just had my I just got pregnant for my first child, and I was looking for a job. And I remember going to a school, and one of the interviewers asked me, how long are you going to be with us before you need to take a maternity break? And that was like going to be a setback, but I didn't let that stop me. I had to volunteer somewhere, and I volunteered for about 8 months without pay. And that was the experience that set me on the pedestal on which I'm soaring today. So wherever you are, there's always an opportunity for growth. So one, believe in yourself, and two, seek out opportunities for growth. That way, as individuals are growing, it results in a contributory growth of the school system and education in general. So those two things I'd say, believe in yourself, one, and seek out opportunities to grow.
Awesome.
Yeah, and okay, I think the second question you talked about accreditation.
Yeah, the second question was around something along the lines of, what do you think
Okay,
you have gone through in the
how it can
UAE
work
through your accreditation
in
process that
Nigeria.
could or should be implemented in schools in Nigeria?
Honestly, the system here focuses on experience and qualifications hand in hand. Okay, so it's about what do you have to bring on the table. Okay, we're not ready to just say, okay, I'm a teacher. Yes, what experience do you have? There's a place of experience and there's a place of qualifications. Yes, qualifications, the studies you do and all that, they give you the head knowledge. But experience, you have that hands-on knowledge, because I tell you, the things you read in books, they are supposed to support you when you eventually go out on the field. Because what you experience on the field is, sometimes not it doesn't go 100% what the books say. So, but you
Yeah.
being able to combine that experience and qualification to give you the basis for your expressions when you work with children, when you work with parents as a teacher, or when you do your observations, when you do what you do as a teacher, that is what counts. And I think that's where the focus is here.
Well,
Thank you.
that's Ifyok Ikeagu, also known as the earliest Duchess, also known as the newly latest licensed educator in the UAE, and she's done a lot for ourselves with consistency. We'd like to appreciate you, Ifyok, and I think that my own question will be, what's next? Now that you're free to fly, what's your first flight plan? If you can hear me, Ifyok, that's the question I have for you as we try to wrap up the show today. If, is it me, or can anyone hear Ifyok?
No.
Oh,
Network.
wow. Okay, so while we wait for Ifyok's network to be sorted out, probably I'll just give everyone maybe like a minute to just give their parting shots as we bring this show to a close. So we'll start with Fee, we'll go to Olushola, and then come to Alero, and then we'll come back to Ifyok. So Fee, over to you. What's your parting shots? What's your counsel?
We're talking about journey into education, and if there is just one thing that I have to leave on the show this morning, sorry, this evening, what I would say is um, enjoy the journey. So as you take every step towards your destination, enjoy the journey. It's going to be bumpy at some point. At some point, the vehicle may even break down. You could have flat tires. You could have all sorts of things happen. But make up your mind to enjoy the journey, keeping the destination in mind. Thank you.
All right, Olushola Olumide.
Yes, for me, I will want to submit that as you journey, make the journey so lively, irrespective of the turns, the bend, the potholes, that somebody somewhere will also feel like coming on a ride. Be a model in the education space. Re-image, relaunch, and redefine the profession, the education profession that you will be proud of, that somebody somewhere will feel excited to come into the education profession. That is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then Alero, over to you.
Hi, everybody's pretty much said it all, really. I guess, it's just about really just finding that, remembering that there's always opportunities to like learn, grow, and also be an impact. You also want to be a person that somebody else down the line will remember. Oh, if it wasn't, that person taught me this. So that's what I'm leaving. Enjoy the journey, find opportunities, and make an impact in somebody's life.
Okay, so if you're back to you, so share your party shot and your flight plan since you're free to fly now.
Okay. All right. So I'll start with my flight plan. So it's about bringing to light everything I've been doing in the dark. If I may say it that way, just bringing everything forward, bringing the preschool forward, bringing the phonics classes forward, bringing the private classes, everything, bringing it out there, bringing the Eyes on LES show on, and Mr. Itayo. Okay, so bringing everything I've been doing at the back, bringing it forward. That's the flight plan in summary. And then my parting shot, I would just say this to teachers out there. Here's the thing. We own this space, and nobody's gonna preach this gospel for us. So it's about you holding that torch up high, doing everything you can to stay relevant and be proud of what you do. Like, you're a teacher, you just be proud of what you do. We have so much, we're making so much impact. Know your onions, and that way you can sell it well. That's where I'm gonna leave it.
Thank you so much, and I will end with my counsel, which is one word: consistency. If there's anything that you will really need to battle it straight away, is the issue of consistency. A lot of people could be good, a lot of people could be great, a lot of people could have a lot of stuff going for them, but a lot of times where they get to fall short is in the place of consistency. You must understand you're in this for the long haul. And consistency is what will eventually give you a name. Consistency is what will eventually make you significant, not just successful. So that's what I like to say for anyone in the journey, for anyone about to start the journey, and those who have advanced in the journey. Always remember, consistency is a strategy behind the success. So thank you so much for coming tomorrow. Remember now, we're every day in your face, Mondays to Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
Talk about
Saturday, 9 a.m.
consistency.
to 10 a.m. Sunday, we are back on Sunday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Weekend special is always special. We brought someone special to be on the special hot seat. And we gave our special questions that brought our special answers, because it's always a special education show. The best in town, the best there could ever be, and there will ever be. This is the Good Morning Education Show. We're signing out at the moment. And thank you to everyone. Thank you to Olushola Olumide. Thank you to Alero. Thank you to Pinfolu. And thank you to Miss of the UAE, Ifyok Ikiagu. Thank you to your little daughter that showed her little face at that moment. Tell her we're saying hello from Africa. And thank you to everyone. Tomorrow we're coming with a special subject matter that has to do with a word for teachers. As we start the new session, as we get to race out for a new term, we have something special for you. Until then, always remember, as we say together, 1 to go. It's always
Great
morning on
Good morning, education.
Education.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.